It's Sunday morning, and what better way to spend it than with a coffee maker comparison, or as I like to call it, Coffee Maker Showdown. Today we're going to be looking at the Kalita Wave 185. This is the 3 to 4 cup version. And then we've got our classic Chemex. This is the 6 cup version. Using white filters today, bleach filters. This is for the Kalita. And then I'm using the square filters for the Chemex. It goes in like that. So I'm going to pre-wet the filters, of course, before I conduct the comparison, but basically we're going to use the same parameters across both brewers. We're going to be using 205°F water. Each will have the same bloom time, same amount of coffee, same amount of water. I'll probably be using a 15:1 ratio. So 15 parts water to 1 part coffee. And I'll let you guys watch the brew process simultaneously. I think I'll be doing a pulse pour. So not just 1 or 2 pours, but probably about 3 or 4, maybe 4 or 5. So anyways, I'll get to showing you what the grind size looks like. I'll be doing something that's medium coarse, hopefully, because both of these brewers require a coarser grind than your standard Hario V60 or other drip coffee maker, and that's because of the small area that the coffee is coming out. So with the Kalita Wave 185, it's coming through these 3 very small holes. And then if you look at one of these corners here, that's basically where the coffee is coming out for the Chemex. So very small space. Therefore, we want to use a coarser grind to ensure that we don't over extract. Since this is a blind taste test, I've gone ahead and chosen the only 2 similar mugs that I have, or identical mugs I should say, and I've labeled them at the bottom. So this one will be for Kalita, and this one will be for Chemex. It's a little bit transparent right now, but once the coffee's been added to each cup, I'll shuffle them around, close my eyes, and then start the tasting. And I'm also going to get my girlfriend to taste test, so we'll see what she thinks. So I know you couldn't see the timer, but total brew time was 4:30, 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Now I'm just gonna pour the Chemex into its own cup. But before I do that, let's measure water temperature, or coffee temperature I should say. one's 163.8, the Kalita Wave. Looks like the Chemex is about 150. So not as hot, but both are at a drinkable temperature. Okay, so first test is immediately post-brew, at least several minutes post-brew. One on the left that I'm about to sip has a milky kind of aroma. Nice fruity taste. I'm using a bag of Case coffee, and they're in Ashland, Oregon. The second one has a similar aroma, but a little bit more muted. Okay, I'm going to wait for these to cool down a little bit more, and then I'll come up with my decision. Okay, so the coffees have cooled down a bit, so let's taste again. Okay, this one on the right has a fruity, almost, let's say, raspberry aroma. Okay, that one's really bright, but not in a bad way. This one is really, again, muted. I'm not sure if it's the same one as before, but I'm assuming it is. So this one's more balanced. The other cup, I would say, was more a little bit too bright for my taste buds, but this has a nice kind of balance between the darker notes like chocolate, smoke, and the brighter notes, which I think are meant to be found in this coffee. So I'm going to go with the one on the left. And let's see what it is. Okay, that's the Kalita, meaning that this one was the Chemex. So in this blind taste test, the Kalita Wave 185 was the winner. And as you saw before, the coffee, the final coffee, was 165 degrees Fahrenheit, while this was about 150. So 15-degree difference. That's pretty significant, I'd say. So I'll be back with my final thoughts as well as what the girlfriend thought. Okay, so girlfriend results are in, and she also went with the Kalita Wave. Her reasons for that were that this one was too sour, and I found that to be true myself. So it could have had to do with the fact that the Chemex isn't able to hold the water temperature as well, and that was kind of demonstrated by the final temperatures of the yielded cups of coffee. So in conclusion, at least for now, I think the Kalita Wave 185 is the way to go. It was certainly better in this Coffeemaker Showdown, unlike the Kalita Wave versus V60, which was a little bit more up in the air. But I think it's pretty unequivocal here that the Kalita Wave was the one that made better coffee. And I think a lot of that had to do with water temperature itself. Now, is the Kalita Wave necessarily for you? No, not necessarily. I mean, I think what's good about the Chemex is not only how great it looks, but also that it can make more than just a few cups of coffee. The Kalita Wave can only make so many cups. As you saw, 3 to 4 is what I said in the beginning. And I haven't really put this to the test, but you're kind of limited in terms of how much coffee you can make with the Kalita Wave. And aside from that, you know, I think Kalita Wave is probably the better value because A, it costs less than the Chemex, I guess depending on what size you get. And I think, at least in my personal opinion, the coffee is better. It's just more balanced, and I think the fact that the Chemex wasn't able to regulate the water temperature too well kind of puts it on my list of so maybe for next time what I can do is preheat the Chemex a little bit better, use a little bit more hot water, or maybe what it will require is a higher water temperature to get the most out of it. But as I mentioned earlier, I used 205-degree water. I actually ended up using 208, so I was pretty high up there, and the fact that the Chemex cup still came out sour is pretty disappointing.